I'll speak about one particular case that I am very well conversant with, because that's the Vizhinjam port case. That in a way illustrates what is happening in terms of port development in India. So the Vizhinjam port is a port which is being made about 15 kilometers south of the Kovalam beach at Trivandrum. It's a port which was given to Adani. It was originally proposed during the Congress government time. It is now being supported by the CPM government there, and of course we know that the central government here thoroughly supports anything to do with Adani. So one problem that we see in the Vizhinjam port, and it's obviously likely to be true for all the ports which are being constructed in the country, is that they are by and large being given to Adani. Strictly speaking, ports are monopolies because you can't have more than one port in one area, and therefore it becomes a monopoly for that area. And private monopolies should not be created, but they are being created rampantly in ports, airports, and now probably also going to happen with the railways. But, so there are two problems, as you heard, which take place when a port is constructed. One is an environmental issue, that is the coastal regulation zone and environmental impact assessment. The other issue is the human issue of displacement and taking away the livelihoods of the local fishermen there. We see both these problems in an extreme form in the construction of the Vizhinjam port. A port involves construction of a breakwater wall which goes perpendicular to the coastline. So there is a 2.5 kilometer long breakwater wall which has been made for this Vizhinjam port perpendicular to the coastline at Vizhinjam. Now, the ocean currents in South India, actually there is a good ocean scientist called Mr. Kodale, Dr. Kodale, who wrote a paper in 2010 in which he studied some of the ports in southern India. And he pointed out something which had happened in all these ports, that the breakwater wall was causing the erosion of the beach on the west side of the Indian coast in southern India. It was causing erosion of the beach on the north side of the breakwater wall and causing depositing of excess sand on the south side of the breakwater wall. And in that paper, he not only gave the data to support this, but he also gave a scientific explanation. He said that the nature of ocean currents are such that when you construct a wall like this, it removes the sand from one side of the wall and deposits it on the other side of the wall. And this is what causes the erosion. Now, I have been going to Trivandrum almost every year, sometimes twice a year for the last at least 13 years. 13 years I have been seeing the coast, the beach, the Kovalam beach, the coast north of this where the Vizhinjam port is coming, and I can see that since this construction of this port started, there has been enormous erosion, and the sea has come in some places 100 meters inwards of where it used to be. The Kovalam beach has almost completely gone. The beach at Trivandrum itself, the main beach of Trivandrum, has also gone. Instead of that, they have made these huge rock walls there. So you can see what that the construction of this port has done to the coast, at least for 30 kilometers on both sides of the breakwater wall. It has led to the destruction of the houses of fishermen which were on the coast. It has led to their displacement of these fishermen who have been forced to live in these shanties, etc. for a long time. And these are the people who filed this petition, which I have been arguing before the Kerala High Court. Unfortunately, that petition is still pending. Not much progress has been made on that petition. But one of the things that happened was that the court asked the government to form an expert committee to review this. Again, the government formed an expert committee headed by the same Mr. Dr. Kudale who had written that paper. But this time, surprisingly, this committee headed by that same Dr. Kudale who had earlier said that this is the science behind the erosion of the beach on the north side of the breakwater wall and the depositing of excess sand on the south side of the wall, the same gentleman, despite the fact that there is overwhelming satellite picture evidence, visual evidence, everybody can see it from their eyes that this has happened, he now says that yes, this has happened, but this is not the result of the port construction. This is because of some cyclone which happened several years ago. How can the cyclone cause this kind of an effect? I mean, these scientists are willing to sell their souls in order to do what the government wants them to do. It's really very, very unfortunate. So anyway, so this has completely wreaked havoc on the whole coastal ecology of that region. Apart from displacing these thousands of fishermen, apart from taking away the livelihoods of tens of thousands of these fishermen in that area. But the other thing that you see is that the present BJP government at the center just doesn't bother about any environmental regulations. They actually, I have been seeing it, I am dealing with cases involving the Environment Protection Act, the Wildlife Act. In each one of these, the committees that are there to do environment impact assessment or assessment of wildlife, etc., or impact on wildlife, is just ignoring everything. Actually, the National Law University, Hyderabad, had done a study on wildlife that 99% projects which threaten the wildlife and which cause serious damage to wildlife are just blindly approved by these governments. So, by the committee, there is a standing committee under the Wildlife Act, and they are just blindly approving everything. Same thing has happened to the CRZ committee, same thing has happened to the Environment Protection Act. They just don't care a damn about any environmental protection at all. And if Adani is involved, then you can be sure that all the governments, virtually all the governments fall in line, because Adani has this knack of somehow being able to influence every government of every party. This is what I have seen. So, and most of these ports are eventually being given to Adani, not only in India, in Sri Lanka also it was given. Wherever Modi ji goes, he takes Adani and helps him get contracts, especially for the ports or power projects, etc., etc. So therefore, this is a very, very serious problem that is arisen in India, and protests by fishermen, etc., are just trampled upon. They just don't bother. There is no public consultation. There are no real public hearings, etc. Sometimes there may be public hearing only in name. Otherwise, they just don't bother about the interests of the local people, the local fishermen, etc. And they don't at all bother about the environmental impact. So this is the story of Vizhinjam, and I am sure that this story is being repeated in all the ports that are now being constructed, at least in South India, perhaps in the whole in the country as a whole.